simply be fixed with a program. We have assemblies, we have programs, and those might be components of a successful approach. In our district, what we decided to do to deal with these challenging situations was to first, we designed and implemented a policy on how adults ought to treat one another. Because I firmly believe the way adults treat one another creates that modeling situation for how students will behave.
Sioux City School District is the first in the nation to actually tackle workplace bullying, not out of fear, but from a prevention point of view. They will be coaches, counselors, internal resources, basically internal experts. Some of them will help with fact-finding when it's time to complain, if that happens for violations of the policy, but mostly they're there as a preventive resource. It's a marvelous thing, totally unique in the United States. Workplace bullying is the repeated health-harming mistreatment by one or more people that takes one or more of the following forms. It's verbal abuse, or it's conduct that's threatening, humiliating, or intimidating, and it can be nonverbal behavior and conduct, or it's work interference, sabotage, any combination of those three. Science, then laws, then employer change. That's how it worked, and societal change. So for the US, we only started in mid-97. We have no laws yet. Schools are bullying prone, without a doubt. But they're also capable of understanding that bullying is dangerous for the kids. The Sioux City Project is the implementation of, it's where we brought our corporate blueprint program in, which contains a policy, the creation and training of an internal peer expert group, and plans systemic rollout education for all to try and change the culture.
What am I to tell my son when he comes home in tears because he's called stupid because someone found out about him having ADHD? How as a parent can I handle that?
I'll try to at least address part of it. I think the reality of the situation is the parent's first action is to help the child understand, number one, that whoever said that to them was inappropriate. That perhaps there are issues with his learning ability, perhaps there's issues with his comprehension, deficit disorder issues, all the things we're talking about. But the best advice I can give to the parent is to help the child understand that they're doing the very best they can. And that's real important because once you're called stupid, it means probably you've been called stupid more than once, and that goes back to the tolerance issue. And so I think it's very important that the parent counsel with the child, help the child understand that their abilities are their abilities, they are who they are, and they'll be able to do well in life. But they have to have confidence in themselves, and they have to do a lot of hard work. And they may have some difficulty in doing things that appear to be easy for other people. Second thing, of course, I would do is talk with the teacher as well, to let the teacher know, or the counselor know, that the name calling is going on in school, and how it affects the child. And then thirdly, I would monitor the situation very closely, because it always concerns me that when a child has their self-esteem ripped apart in such a fashion, that they start, doubting themselves. So, a lot of love, a lot of attention, and a lot of cooperation. And ultimately, if the child persists being attacked by a specific individual, it's an issue for the school to deal with. I think that's the best advice I can give.
Thanks, Jim. Sometimes kids will not tell their moms and dads about being bullied because the parents overreact and make it a lot worse. Please address the helpful response for parents. How should a parent respond?
I think for parents, I have 3 kids of my own that are now in college, and I think the most helpful thing the parent can do is to listen. And I think that they need to respect if their child doesn't want, the names and those kinds of things brought up. We need to respect that. On the other hand, it's very difficult for the school and the counselors to do anything about it without knowing specifics. So if there's some way that the parent could get the child's permission to approach the counselor or the teacher so that they can address the situation specifically. I think that would be the best.
Also, if you think about the age where that occurs, you know, it's relatively easy for all of us to gain parental involvement in schools, particularly in elementary school. We can always get better at that, but it's easy there. When we get into the middle years, students, unfortunately, don't want their parents around as much as maybe they once did. And yet we must recognize that sometimes what the students think they want and what the students need are different. And so, you know, at times, you know, I've had to address things related to my own children. Believe me, it's worse when your dad's the superintendent. And it's in some ways. And sometimes you just have to be that parent and do what you know is right, because the long-term payoff is worth the short-term frustration.
My daughter and I have been to our school principal 6 times this year to confront a bullying situation. He keeps telling us he's been unable to prove anything. How do we get our school past this to a position of helping? The young girl is spreading lies and kicking my daughter on a playground.
One thing I encourage our kids to do is to keep a journal, and if the behavior is repeated, then they can jot the date, what happened, and the action that was taken either by the teacher or the principal. And if they keep a journal, then when they come in, we can have specifics and they can address those